Hello and welcome to the program Midday Discourse on Global Television, where we look at very salient issues making the rounds in Nigeria. Already, it's no big news that the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, in the person of Betta Edu, has been suspended, and investigations going on by the anti-graft agencies, and also casting our mind backwards, the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Poverty Alleviation, in the person of Sadiya Umar Farouk, is also going through the same interrogation by the EFCC. And so it tells us that corruption is endemic in the Nigerian government, and the president has decided to do all he can to ensure that corruption is, kicked out as much or minimized as much as possible. That has inspired us to look at the issue as regards fighting corruption using forensic, means, tools, and measures in order to fight corruption in Nigeria. And that's why we have decided, as customary in-house, to get the finest minds in the continent to get us well informed as regards how to get this job done. And no other person but the Director General of the Institute of Security and Forensic Study Nigeria, in the person of Dr. Morgan Okocha, is my guest on today's edition of the program, this Midday Discourse, to help us as to how well we can prevent these corrupt tendencies before it occurs. Good afternoon, and nice to have you join us on the program.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony.
All right, let's look at the recent spate of corruption news we've heard in the past. First of all, it was the previous Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Poverty Alleviation, the person of Sadiya Umar Farouk, that's in the Muhammadu Buhari's regime, who is currently facing the EFCC. Then fast forward the last 48 hours, it's been the current suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, the person of Betta Edu, also involved in corrupt practices, 585 million naira, transferred into private accounts. As someone who is the DG of the Forensic Security and Forensic Study Nigeria, how best can we tackle these issues using forensic tools?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Anthony. Looking at forensic practice and principle in Nigeria, the forensic principle and forensic practice is a welcome development. Looking at the Amendment of Evidence Act that gave relief for electronic generated evidence. I don't want to preempt the issue of the former ministers of humanitarian and the Poverty Alleviation Program minister, because they are under investigation. But I want to also give some key lines of actions that are used to prevent corruptions in the public servants. Corruption is diverse. We have corporate corruptions and incorporate corruption, like public corruption and private corruptions, conventional and non-conventional corruptions. To prevent these corruptions, the system in place, how do you checkmate? How do you highlight? How do you balance the equations in dealing with these affairs in the issue of ministry budgets and implementation of budgets? When these items or when these actions are in place properly, the issue of corruptions will be a thing of the past. The system is bad. The system is weak. I want to tell you that the president of the present government, Tinubu himself, has already pledged that he will not give room for any corruption to ministers or the existing ministers. And starting off from Dr. Edu is a way of sending signals to other ministers that the president is a no-nonsense individual who will not tolerate corruption practice. Of course, if President Buhari can handle this effectively.
There's a President Tinubu now?
Yes, yes, of course. The President Tinubu can handle this case properly. Not sweeping this case under the carpet. Not handling this case with bias. Let me tell you that other ministers will sit up. These are ways of solving corruptions. Dealing with corrupt individuals to the confinement of the law. The case should be open, the investigation should be made deeper. All the items that are involved should be digested properly in the with the use of forensic principles.
What kind of forensic tools can we use in the case, using the case study of the present Dr. Betaido? What are the forensic tools that should be applied by the EFCC to ensure that?
Of course, there are a lot of tools. The tools depend on the issues on ground. One, we are talking about budgets and implementation of budget. Had to do with the money, taking flight to Kogi State, where there's no plane, where there's no airport, and the other allocations on the implementation that had to do with money over spending money that is not spending money that is not allotted for can be a way of increasing corruptions. Inflating costs, something that is had to do with 1 million, you inflate it to 3 million, and nobody acts. It's part of corruption. Then the document expert, we have document and fraud examiner expert in forensic.
Okay.
They look into it. You bought this free AC 3 million. How much is it in the market? You have to equip the document expert, the fraud examiners with valuable informations that are equivalent with what it is applied for.
Talking about this document experts, the report also came out indicting the Interior Minister in the person of Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, that he denied that he was the signatory to the company that was awarded this contract, this 438 million that was paid.
That is when forensic experts. That is when forensic experts will come in. We have graphologists. Graphologists are forensic aspects that look into signature analysis. So if he denies that it's not a signature of that,
it's not a signatory to that
company. Yeah. And there are a lot of information that should be assumed, that should be used to fast track the claim. Because if you're owner of a company, the CAC have all the documents. How did they make annual return? Who signed annual return? Whose name is there? All these are information that the forensic.
So if his signature is not there, for instance, but his name is there,
of course, it's a part of the indictment. Even if his signature is not there, his name is there. Is he denying that the name is not there? No, his name is there. Is he claiming that somebody forged his signature? How?
He's claiming that he's not a signatory, but he is part of the company.
He is part of the company, he is part of the signatory. Of course, if you are part of a company, you are part of the signatory. You may not, even if it's not signatory per se, but any action and the reaction that is taken, that took place in that company as a point, you are part of it because the boards may meet to discuss. So the minute of the board meetings, where is it? All these things need to come in place to actually analyze his involvement. So forensic experts have so much role to play in all these sagas because you look at documents, who signed it? How did they sign? Look at other, we have features in document, in signature, and we have upper layer, middle layer, and lower layers in analyzing signature. So if he denies that he's not involved in the signature or whatever, the forensic experts, that is the job of forensic expert, to keen and look at, use a forensic tools and instrument to examine and extract the right information. So it is not out of place. It is not late to involve forensic expert to come and unearth all the hidden information that needed to come
Okay, in terms of, let's look at the Attorney General of the Federation, Accountant General of the Federation, who was given the directive to transfer that money. Can we use any forensic measure to be certain where that money was transferred to, and if there were any deductions made from that money during the course of the transfer? Because now it was transferred to a private account.
Mr. Anthony, thank you very much. These are very simple things that forensic can unearth. Very simple, like ABC. If at a point A, what transpired? How was the information passed, the approval made? It might not be verbal, because any document that is verbal in instruction is not a document. There must be a communication from the Attorney General, from the Accountant General.
From the Minister to the
Yes, from the Minister to the Accountant General. From the Accountant General to...
So it has to be written? Or,
yes.
But what if it was just verbal?
No. It can't be verbal. It is an administration. It can't be verbal. If it becomes verbal, it becomes criminal.
So if it was verbal and the Accountant General went ahead with that directive, he has to be found wanting?
All the ranges, all the steps that were followed, if they were not written documents or extracted documents, that is not a process. In fact, the people involved need to be inducted in a very strict process. But if the Accountant General denies that it's not involved, where is the document that give way or give raise for
him to
yes.
make the transfer?
And let me tell you, sometimes it is funny enough. Some of them may not give these documents. Maybe they will hide these documents. That is when the raiding of EFCC, DSS, and other security agencies raid the office to search some of these documents. Some of them, they approve it, and at the end of the day, they will take up the document and hide it somewhere. So that it will be difficult for the expert to analyze. But let me tell you that something like that can be unearthed by forensic experts.
Okay, how is that done?
By setting off inquiry team from point A to point B, having a thorough investigation. That is when the interrogation will begin. How did it come to the last point? Where was it released? Attorney General, Accountant General.
Yeah.
How would this amount of money move from this account? In fact, bank will come into place then.
Okay.
Yes, the bank cannot accept verbal approval from Accountant General.
Oh, shouldn't using forensic means now, as we probe this matter, is there no law that says when certain amounts of money passes certain range, the bank should inform the anti-graft agencies, the ICPCs, the EFCCs?
Of course,
to say certain
there
amounts
there is.
So can we say the EFCC and the bank are complicit in this matter, because there was no red flag raised and that money was actually transferred?
That is what I'm saying. I said all parties involved must come to answer their names. Because the bank, how will you allow this whooping amount of money to pass through your bank accounts? You know the law. You know what it is. Let me tell you, there was a time I had 12 million in my account. And of course, when I want to withdraw the money, they said, no, I should fill this form, fill this form, fill this form, fill this form. And I did. Even my company that have an NGO, I went to SCUMO to fill the form and document so that if there is any money passing through that account, the EFCC will be alerted, the SCUMO agents will be alerted through the EFCC. So I think if there is any amount passing through a system that is not documented, whoever that are involved in that activities should be held responsible. That is when investigation will come on place. So this quick investigation using forensic tools, we need it now. It is very, very essential, very, very important.
Okay. How expensive is it to have these forensic tools? And why are we not having government agencies like we can see now, the Federal Ministry of the Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation Ministry now? Why are we not having certain forensic tools embedded in their administration.
I think if I may get you right, why wouldn't forensic experts in the public sectors dictate all these anomalies? Is that what you are asking? Of course, you know, government themselves, there are like sort of lacuna that...
are they deliberate lacunas?
Not deliberate. Anyway, it could be deliberate lacuna.
So that corruption can persist.
Yeah, that is why the system is weak, as I said earlier before now. The systems are weak. If you are working in an EFCC now and you detect a fraud like this, you must follow the normal protocol to report, to do this, to do that. Before you know it, the boss will not be interested to handle the matter. Or a report comes from any angle and it is not well investigated. So what I want to tell you is that forensic experts should be put into known, should be trained, should be independent. Independent in the way that you allow the expert to assume, to extract information that will help the police to carry out the investigation of the TSS. So why this thing is made known, we forensic experts will operate in a full-fledged department. Let me just tell you that we talk about investigation. We talk about private investigation.
Yeah.
I went to Kenya and I saw some of our colleagues operating as independent forensic experts. US also is allowed. So, and of course, recently the Law of Evidence Act, the law of amending police law specifically defined and enshrined that individuals who are trained and certified can carry out private investigation in the use of forensic, that discrete investigation, perhaps the use of forensic. So that it will be easier to detect all these issues. Because if public forensic experts are given this activity to work on, a lot of issues will come on board.
Okay, let's
center of interest will affect such. But if it's private investigators, it will be very simple and very easy for such person to do his work without any interface.
Okay, let's look at the CBN. Recently, the Jim Obazi report did bring out lots of issues as regards the SY CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, opening about 500 different secret accounts and also making some transactions and some transfers. Why is the CBN not having a specific unit that has to do with forensic, units that should be monitoring all these processes? If we had that, would we have seen the infractions committed by the CBN governor?
Let me tell you something. When you are under your father, under the petrol of your father, you may not be able to have that ego or that impunity to correct your father when things are not normal. Even if forensic, they have 100 forensic experts in CBN. The CBN governor, who is the authority in that firm, will not give way for them to question his activities. He will look for people that are of interest, people that can cover his interest. So if forensic experts want to operate very effectively, you must involve private, you must key in to the law establishing police by giving forensic practitioners independency to investigate. Because you cannot investigate where you have no absolute power to investigate a case, even if the law is there. You can be given that power, authority to investigate any criminal act. Any criminal act can be that of CBN when there are issues on petition. Because now, let me tell you that sometimes if you petition the governor, central bank governor, when he's a governor, they may not take the case serious. It may be very difficult to get into a case that a serving chief of affairs is on the government. It is very difficult. In fact, it is God that opened up this Dr. Edu's matters. You understand? So what I'm trying to say is that if this Edu's matter can be a stepping stone to the present government. He should not decide or to give any attention in a very weak manner. Any report, any complaint, any petition, you should investigate it critically. Let the person step down so that the investigation can be very effective. Because it's difficult for somebody to investigate a serving governor as it is. If there is a claim or if there is a petition on any governor, you can investigate except he is down or is off from the service. So all these things are what we are advocating for, that forensic practitioners should be given a full-fledged power to investigate any claims that have to do with criminal activities, that have to do with corruption. Because corruption is one of the things that is killing this nation because of the improper processing of individuals. No checkmating procedures. Nobody regulates anybody. Nobody is willing to handle issues that bedeviling the activities of the system. So it is high time that governments step up to key into forensic practitioners. Call in the practitioners. Let them sort for the practitioner operational advice, professional advice, so that we can give the government the power or the clues to implement the forensic practice to the latter, just like any other any other country that are developed.
Okay, let's look at, as the Director General of the Institute of Security and Forensic Study in Nigeria, how would you, have you gotten the backing or the cooperation of government agencies? And if not, why is the government not embracing the practitioners, forensic practitioners in the country, knowing how sensitive their role is in curbing corruption?
Thank you. I want to tell you that Nigerian police cooperate with forensic practitioners to the highest, most especially the present IG. The present IG of police is fully interested in forensic practice. The DSS are fully in support of the forensic practice. Police, the civil defense, okay, they are all interested in practice of forensic practitioners. But what I'm trying to say is that the law that establish forensic practitioners, that give rise to using electronic media to giving evidence before a law court of its jurisdiction, is enough. And individuals should rely on the police recent amended act.
Oh, it's okay.
You understand? So when this thing is fully in place, of course, you will see that so many things, so many anomalies, so many days, or so many erroneous activities will be corrected.
All right, in case you're just joining us, you're watching Midday Discourse, and I have with me the Director General of the Institute of Security and Forensic Study in Nigeria, as we look at fighting corruption using forensic tools and measures. We'll go for a very quick break. When we return from the break, the discussion on the fight against corruption using forensic tools and measures will continue. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back from the break. You still midday discourse as we look at fighting corruption using forensic tools and measures. My guest is still Dr. Morgan Okocha, who is the Director General of the Institute of Security and Forensic Studies, Nigeria. All right, let's look at in terms of the current issue on ground now. What are the tools likely to be used in doing this investigation against Better Edu, and especially knowing that she was in office even after that news broke, probably having 48 hours, 72 hours to clear her desk before this suspension. Do you think with forensic tools, whatever things she must have done to cover her tracks can be unearthed?
Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony. Sometimes investigation should be proactive.
Okay.
Proactive means work before the time. I believe that before this suspension come up, a lot of investigation has been pinned down. You understand, has been going on. So it's just for her to step down. It's just for formality's sake. So many information has been gathered, yes, and have been collected. Stepping her down is just to reconcile those informations that have been collected with her own side of the story. Okay, you understand? Because you cannot conclude an investigation without the statement, and of course, she cannot give statement while in the office.
Okay.
So she had to step down. She had to be suspended, and then while she will be invited to give up her own story. And the story she will give, or her statement, will be the collation of her own and the one that have been collected, that the intelligence that have been gathered, because there are two things in place now: the intelligence and investigation. Intelligence is proactive, while investigation is retroactive.
Okay, intelligence is proactive.
Yes. Okay. Why investigation is retroactive? Because proactive means you work before the time. Okay. All the information you collect before the time. Then why you are carrying out the investigation, you are reconciling it with the intelligence that have been gathered. So for her to step down is just for her to give her own side of story, so that investigation will commence. Why the intelligence were being gathered, she was still in the office. She don't know.
Well, okay. At that point,
she wouldn't know.
She wouldn't know.
She wouldn't know.
So, so does it mean they also will be working in-house with some of the staff of her ministry?
The informations can be sourced in different means. It could be direct, it could be indirect, it could be conventional also, it could be unconventional, it could be classified, it can be unclassified. So intelligence is dynamic, because you cannot define one way of collecting of information. Okay. And this information you collect is called intelligence. Intelligence is like food. You cook it, you put onions, you put garbage, you put everything. Then, after you finish these processes, that is when you put up investigation that are proactive, that are retroactive, trying to reconcile what information you have gathered. So, in forensic too, it is the same processes, just that forensic aspect is more deeper. It is more classified. It is more discreet in nature. Yes. So if her case now had to do with corruption, and then of course you have fraud examiners, you have document experts. So these two experts come in place. And then if there are systems used, the digital forensic will come, or cyber security will come
in terms of the laptops?
Yes, of course. The systems, if there are devices that are used, that are being initiated by the intelligence, then that is when the practice of forensic in classified processing will come on board. Analyzing the information from the laptop, because I believe that at the moment there will be some laptop that will be in custody, yes, that are being examined. Yes, of course. The laptop are involved in the office. There are some device, her phone.
So would they have? Do you have the right to have access to her phone?
Of course, yes. She's under investigation. Her phone need to be scrutinized and things because of alert, because of the transaction communication. They need to clone her calls logs, how to come into place. So discrete investigation has a lot of deeper processes to carry out investigation.
Okay, in terms of the banks, let's move to the
banks.
Yes,
bank is another sector that had to come in place.
And would forensic measures be used for the banks? So
yeah,
would the banks allow it fully? Wouldn't they put up the resistance to say, because of our cyber or protection of our client base, we cannot divulge?
No. When there is an investigation is legal. So they have no right to refuse any investigation process. It's just for them to write to the bank investigation activities. And then they furnish us with this social account number, and this name and social transaction, that is all. So the bank will be ready to. Then where the bank will be queried then is certain amount of money being disbursed at a particular time. The bank board will come into place and a lot of issues will be assumed from this angle. So we are not going to preempt the investigation processes. We allow the EFCC to do their job. I believe that with the present administration, we are having hope that there must be truth.
Okay, but in terms of, we'll look at the high-profile persons involved in, for instance, this case where the Interior Minister is also involved, allegedly involved, then also the Chief of Staff, Femi Gbajabiamila, also allegedly involved in this matter. Do you expect that the forensic tools will not be compromised?
No, it can't be compromised. Why are you going to compromise the process? A is A, B is B, C is C. But I believe that the present administration is going to put up more pressure. We believe on him. Okay. We also call on him not to interfere in the investigation processes.
Okay, let's, on the general note now, let's look at forensic and securities study in Nigeria. How would you rate the number of forensic practitioners in Nigeria, and are they well distributed evenly in a public and private sector?
Thank you very much. In terms of Institute of Security and Forensic Study in Nigeria, we advocate for more people to come for training and be certified and be conferred fellowship and charters depending on the level of the individual.
Okay.
Some organizations dispatch their staffs, senior staff, to attend. Some individuals come on their own to attend, of course, having known the benefits of forensic expert. Some persons will decide from banking sector to come and do the program without being sponsored by the bank or whatever. So the Forensic Institute is open for everybody, for bankers, for the lawyers, the judicial workers, the teachers, the doctors,
doctors.
Yes, of course. Yes, doctors. Medical forensic, yes, of course.
Okay. In that sector, what do they look at when it comes
of course, when there is a case, investigation, of course, doctors are into investigation.
Okay.
You understand? And they rely investigation from the lab scientists and all that. So the doctors that are forensic experts, that are medical forensic, they are more exceptional from other practitioners because they are the one that will certify some cases when it comes to complicated issues. Medical forensic are the best to handle it. When you come to talk of forensic pathologists, what is the cause of the death? What are the history? Because when you talk of pathologists, are they forensic pathologists? because the principle of pathology by using forensic is more critical, more detailed, more strategized. And if the doctor is forensic expert, in fact, it is a very simple ground for him to conclude a case when it has to do with medical forensic. So, medical forensic, and when you talk about ballistic investigation, the cost, the object.
Okay, in terms of now, you're talking security matters, no?
Yes, details information about...
for instance, like the Christmas Eve killing in Plateau State.
Yes.
How can forensic investigation help us determine what bullet was used, what make of this product, where this product is coming from?
That is why I said ballistic forensic,
okay.
Forensic ballistics.
Okay.
They are the ones that use forensic to devise, to examine who released these gun bullets, what object came from what time, from where, how did it come, what range. So it is a forensic ballistic that determine and examine and give you more clue on who performed.
So how come it has been difficult for the Nigerian Army and security formations to be able to track these insurgents when with forensic tools all this information can be gotten? Is it that they are choosing not to employ this forensic ways in doing their investigation, or they're just turning a blind eye?
That is what we are clamoring for. When incidents like this happen, forensic practitioners should come in, be involved, be carried along. You cannot only use the conventional forensic expert. Conventional forensic expert means the forensic expert that is in the service. Okay. Let that allow the the practice of investigation by private individual to come on board. You will see the wonders that will happen in investigation setting. And of course, we are working along with the Nigerian police. And once that is done, you see changes in investigation platforms.
Are they beginning to embrace that?
Of course, they know.
And what's the cost implication of, because most times when you hear forensic investigations like the one Jim Obaze did for when the president told him to investigate the CBN, how expensive is forensic investigations?
Of course, just like any other profession. It's just like any other profession, consultant. If you involve a private consultant, it is the same cost, the same payments to be paid depending on who is involved.
Okay.
Yes. So the payment is not exceptional from any forensic expert.
So in Nigeria, like how many forensic practitioners do we have in Nigeria?
Of course.
In different, the 6 geopolitical zones, how would you rate?
We have not been able to rate conventionally the total aggregate of forensic experts because it has different categories, like security and forensic study. Okay. Our categories ranges from PCC, proficiency certificate course. Then after that proficiency certificate course, we'll go to basic certificate course. Okay. After basic certificate course, we go to advanced professional course. After advanced professional course, you go to executive managerial course. Of course, before you be conferred a fellow of the institute. So at least when you are a fellow of the institute, that is when you have the enabling tools to practice as a forensic expert. But from your grassroots, you take it up one after the other. So I think from the question you asked, from the analysis at my desk, we have over 4,000 forensic experts.
In Nigeria. Okay, let's look at international cooperation, because we know that with this cooperation, there are tools and some devices needed. Can you confidently say Nigeria has got enough forensic tools in carrying out investigations, or we still need international cooperation?
We still need international cooperation because there are some tools that we don't have in Nigeria. When there is activities of investigation, that we need to employ the service of international organizations to bring in some of the tools for practicing. We will go to that when that time comes. But at the moment, we are plugging Nigerian government to release more funds for forensic practitioners, for forensic practice, set up labs, train enough individuals from government bodies and hype up the budget activity with other security body like SSS, like police, like civil defense, like immigration, like ADLA, their forensic unit, equip their unit and train the staffs. Of course, when there are requests for us to train some of the staffs from different security bodies, we will do that with every what the total cooperation that is required.
Okay, let's look at currently in terms of international cooperation. What countries would you rate as on the global scene? And what countries would you say have the best forensic services and practitioners?
Yeah, of course, US is one of our main two professional on forensic because we have ASIS International Security Body, where we have our international organization centered at US at every quarterly.
Okay.
We are expected to attend meetings on new development on forensic tools quarterly in US. So if you are lucky or if you are interested as a forensic expert, any of the program we can also, like the one we're having in this March, is in Kenya. Then, of course, October, we're having another one in Nigeria. Then, September, we're having another one in US. So okay. It is a routine.
Okay, let's look at, because all this on the global scale, on the rural areas like local government areas, private sector organizations, how would forensic tools and measures help at least young organizations starting up prevent corruption, especially financial corruption in their different organizations?
Yes, of course. If you are to curb corruptions, it will start from the grassroots, from the basement. We have guidelines.
Okay.
That we will give the organization. Because by the time you allow, this is a studio, you protect this place from noise. That is how forensic is practiced. There are measures that will be adopted, that will be made available in an organization, and that does not allow corruption to come on board. So when these measures are being made in place, informing all the bodies that are concerned, the corruption will be reduced to the barest minimum.
Okay, let's just look at your final take. In 2023, how will you assess the level of corruption in Nigeria? Would you say, due to the number of forensic practitioners you've trained and Nigerians who have been involved and the security agencies that you've also had come for training, how would you rate the corruption index? Would you say it was on the high? Has it reduced? And what's your projection for 2024?
Rating of corruption is a difficult task. To tell you that the corruption in Nigeria has reduced to 90% to 80%, any mathematician that will give you that value may be wrong.
Okay?
Yes, because it is what you see, how you feel it, that you know you use in your analysis. But if I am to rate from the forensic perspective, we are getting to the right place sooner or later, because the number of training individuals we are getting is coming to an increase. We are training more in a progressive manner.
Yeah, continue. Okay.
So, in a progressive manner. So, the Nigerian government should come on board to encourage forensic experts, most especially Institute of Security and Forensic Study, Nigeria.
In terms of support, encourage, are you talking financially or are you talking policy?
Policy support and policy analysis. Of course, I know that Institute has been pulled off from budget, from this 2024 budget, all institutes. all council have been removed from the budget. But what we are trying to say is that time to time, we seek support from the government. They assist us to key into training, because training individuals is very expensive. Training is an expensive angle that government should look into. Sending the other organizations, services, service chiefs, head of parastatals to participate in our training. Government should encourage it, should give us that platform to train the staff, most especially the conventional security organizations, so that they will get it in the right direction. By the time a security staff is not trained for a year, he will not know the new methods. Crime are of increase every day. Then the experts will deploy new methodologies, new techniques to curb such criminal activities. So training and retraining is something that is very important in the issue of forensic practice.
Okay, just to my last question before we leave the studio. In terms of the judiciary, we've seen the judiciary, like for instance, what happened in Kano, the governorship election, where the Kano tribunal, we had different. The certified true copy was different from the other copy presented. How would a forensic, tool help solve that?
These are human errors. Human compromise errors. As experts, we go for the best. Such an error cannot be undermined. People involved should be punished to serve as deterrent.
So with forensic tool, would he have cleared that?
Of course, yeah, of course. The judgment day, what was the announcement? These are something that are very simple. So let us get it right. You cannot tell me there's judgment and the judgment are true way. No. Who was there? Who were there?
What was written?
And what was written? No record.
And if it was changed, would you have seen that through using forensic?
Of course. In fact, I am going to advise the government, and I believe that some of the courts have records, have CCTV. So if you want to examine the original true copy, it is very simple. Play back the CCTV and you'll see the judgment. It's very simple.
But in terms of the paper, because they had two different things written.
If you want to extract the correct information, go back to CCTV. What was the judgment? It is what you generate from the paper, from the CCTV that can go to the paper. So it's very simple to investigate. Thank you.
All right, so that's how we're going to call it a wrap on today's edition of the program Midday Discourse on Global Television. We've been talking with the Director General of the Institute of Security and Forensic Studies, Nigeria, in the person of Dr. Morgan Okocha, who has helped us to look at how we can fight corruption in Nigeria using forensic tools and measures. Thank you for joining me in the studios.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so that's how we call it a wrap on today's edition. Let's do this again tomorrow, same time, same station. Good afternoon.